Our Bridgerton hiatus this time seems to be stretching longer than ever. And as we wait for Poland to hit our screens, we can't help but wonder when we'll get to see Eloise's and Benedict's love stories come to life. Will they both be featured in season 4? Something tells us not, and that it's Eloise's turn next. Why's that? Keep watching this video to find out this and some other insider info about the show. Let's start with how the show is different from the books. Don't worry, we're not going into depth about how Eloise carried her dress or Penelope acted around Colin. The books may have more details, but that's not the point right now. Our point for today is how Shondaland has changed the order by which we're seeing the Bridgerton siblings hit the dust. Or fall in love, actually, but you get it. So in the books, after Daphne and Anthony, Benedict is the next sibling in line to find his soulmate. But now that Penelope and Colin are taking center stage, we have no idea when we'll get to see Benedict or Eloise find their respective matches. But even though that's info unknown, we still think the next sibling to be the titular character is Eloise. Wait up, why not Benedict? Look, we are as hyped to see an offer from a gentleman on TV as you are. But guys, there's time for that. We may be waiting to see Benedict take up the hero's role, but is the character ready yet? If you remember, he's going through an identity crisis of his own, not knowing if he should rely on his talent or his family's name to make it big in the world. He's also yet to mature a little because right now, especially with the whole getting high during dinner bit in season 2, he's got a little more sobering up to do before he meets the precious Sophie. Next, is season 4 for Eloise a good idea? Of course it is. Following Eloise's story so far, we can say she's ready to take up the challenge of her first love already. And hey, she's probably already found him in Theo, who isn't part of the books, by the way. So the show's already going above and beyond to develop her character arc further. Another point to note is that she's also aware of who Lady Whistledown is now, even though that's not part of the book's story either. So in a way, Eloise's plot has developed a lot more than Benedict, if you asked us. And even though yes, she does marry Sir Philip Crane in the books, we just told you how the show had changed the book's timeline. So maybe Crane isn't the one for her after all? Hold it before you get all defensive. Think about it. Right now, or at least in the next season, Eloise is searching for a place for herself and her beliefs while being out in the old-fashioned ton. In all this, her meeting Theo seems to be better for her than meeting Philip, who's married to Marina Thompson in the show, by the way. And if the girl deserves anything, it's a love match that makes her happy after all that she's gone through. Considering that, does a match with the cold and grumpy Crane seem like a good idea to you? That's right, and even if he is her future match, the show does need some time to build up their romance, which could be done in season 3. For now, Penelope is more important. So while Eloise finds her place in Regency England, it just makes sense to Penelope to make her move. Not Benedict either, because that guy needs a Greek tour of his own to understand what exactly he wants from his life. Now that we know who Lady W is and how Penelope is jumping through hoops to keep her identity secret, it's time that her story took shape. And finally, we can stop wondering when Tan will find out about her activities. Also, we just can't take the tension between her and Colin anymore. So yeah, about time those two got their feels out in the open. Sure, that also means we won't have Whistledown's commentary in future seasons, but you never know. The show may just surprise us once again. Moving on, how can season 3 change Bridgerton's sibling dynamics? We already saw Daphne and Anthony become closer in season 2. And honestly, we loved that. But with Penelope officially entering the family and Eloise left friendless, we see another sibling bond forming in the upcoming season. Yep, we're talking about Daphne and Elle, who have always been a little too distant, thanks to their differences. But now that Daph is a duchess taking up her own space in society and Elle's also out soul-searching, we may just see them becoming the best of friends this time around. Another friend couple in the works could be Kate and Penn, because the former lost her friend too, you know. And who else can she confide in next now that Eloise has broken it off with her? The amazing Kate, of course. Seems like this next season's going to give us some unforgettable gal pal moments in the form of these unbreakable friendships. That reminds us of Shonda Rhimes and Betsy and Beers, the duo behind Bridgerton itself. Now wait, what's so special about Shonda and Betsy? Aside from the fact that they created this show, they're dynamic of course. Recently appeared on Live Talks Los Angeles to promote their behind-the-scenes book about the show. And while talking to the audience and Katie Lowe's, they described their journey from creating the show to what they love about it, giving us an insight into how amazing their friendship actually is. Did you know that Shonda Rhimes just came across Bridgerton when she was sick in a hotel room? Yeah, and as soon as she read the first one, she went and bought the second and took Betsy on board for the show soon after. Who got Shonda's vision right away as soon as she read the books herself? Talk about dynamic duos. And so without further ado, here's a list of all the things they mentioned, along with some insider information they revealed for us eager fans. First up, they love clothes and wigs. Like us? Yes, they do. They even said that at the core of their vision were the clothes and wigs. Their first designer on board was Ellen Mirojnick, who made them fall further for the looks, especially the nightgowns. Well, we see why. Great job right there, Ellen. Up next, how they've picked the amazing cast. Right off the bat, both of them knew that they didn't want to cast big names for the show. They just didn't fit with their vision. So when it came to the people, they interviewed and auditioned a lot of people. And one of the first ones to make the cut was Regé-Jean Page, who'd previously worked with them on For the People, and whom they took on board right away as the Duke of Hastings. All we gotta say is, thank you, queens. Coming up, their take on the show's music. Do you know who's behind all the magical compositions of Material Girl, Wrecking Ball, Thank You Next, and the others? Chris Bowers. He'd worked with them already on For the People, and they say they loved how he took these contemporary songs and gave them a classical touch for those magical balls and soirees. They even mentioned how they were able to have him create needless drops that are Shondaland trademarks found in all their shows, including Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and now Bridgerton. Let's not forget their attention to historic details. And who's the person behind that? The genius historian Hannah Gregg. She made sure they got all the teeny tiny details right, but even Shonda herself was pretty immersed in the task. According to her, she was so obsessed with the details that she'd freak out even if one of the female leads was out without a chaperone. Beers went on to call her the intense Regency police you have ever met in your life, which could be a compliment considering the show they've created. Rhimes even said that she was scandalized when she saw Kate riding the horse astride during her entry scene because Regency ladies don't do that. But hey, as much as we loved their commentary, even we wouldn't change the scene for the world because that's exactly the kind of badass entry every romance or otherwise heroine deserves. Finally, some insider info about Season 3. If you're expecting spoiler drops, forget it. These ladies have been part of the game for a long time, and they know how to hook the audience. So while they didn't give us any information despite Lowe's trying her best to get some morsels out of them, they did mention that Season 3 is going to be as exciting as Seasons 1 and 2, if not more. And that it's filled with love and romance and will also be addressing the Penelopes of it all. Well, didn't we tell you that telling Pen's story was important this season? We just hopes she gets her happily ever after in the very same magical way as the previous Bridgerton ladies did. And that's a wrap for this video. Who do you think Season 4 is going to be about? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.